Hello everyone and welcome to Capes, Cowls and Masks, the show where we uncover the world of soups and science fiction. I'm your host, Jake Hart. I'm a podcaster and a writer for Fresh Take Hub. And as always, I'm joined by my fellow co-host.
Hi, it's the beautiful and irreplaceable Tom Gapper here, your comic book shogun. Excited to talk about this week's news and to talk about it with our amazing guest.
Yes, and the reason Tom says replaceable is that unfortunately Dave is not here today, but he is quite replaceable because we brought in a guest instead. Please welcome back to the show, big friend of the show, director, writer, Rob Ayling. How you doing, Rob?
I'm very well, thank you. And Dave is not replaceable. How dare you say that? He's a nice man.
He doesn't get kung fu.
Yeah, we've been having this ongoing thing. He doesn't get kung fu. Like it's a whole thing. It's a whole thing, Rob.
Oh, okay, all right. So there's another reason to behind it all. I get it. I get it.
Some behind the scenes Capes, Cowls and Masks drama, I can say. So this is our 25th episode, our main episode. So in normal comic book fashion, as you would know, Tom, and Rob as well, the 25th issue in a series is normally where they shake things up a bit. A big event happens, and this is what we're doing in the show. We realized we've had to make some kinks, so what we're going to do now, the new structure of the show is we'll bring you 3 stories. Each of us get our opinion. We'll take a quick break, and then we get into our big story of the week. And this week, in celebration of UK cinemas reopening to the world, well, to the nation, I should say, we are going to be talking about our favorite cinema moments related to comic book / superhero films. So that should be fun. And then always at the end, Tom, our comic book shogun, will bring you the comic book pull list of the week. But before we get into all of that, Rob, how have you been, man?
I've been all right, mate. I've been keeping busy, very busy, in fact. I think I said this before, but I've been working on my feature film debut, and it's in pre-production as we speak now. So hopefully by this time next year, I would have been complete, or probably still having a mental breakdown. But whatever comes first, I'm ready for the challenge. But no, all seriousness, it's all things are good. I'm keeping creatively busy, and all is well. How are you guys doing?
Yeah, not bad. I've all I've been doing really is it pales in comparison to what you've been doing. I've just been watching Castlevania Season 4 and playing the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which just dropped on Friday. So all in all, I've been having a great week. It's been good.
Amazing.
No breakdowns, but but actually the week is still young.
Guys,
great time.
I did a thing today, actually, as we speak.
Oh?
I went to the cinema.
Oh,
what? I went to an actual movie theater, not full of people, mind. There wasn't like loads of. There was still a few people in there. There was actual people there, real strangers. Do you know what I mean? Like people I don't know who these people are. Walking into the foyer, grabbing my ticket, physical ticket. I printed that. I was like, I'm gonna print this, and I saw the Oscar winner, Nomadland, and it was. The film was obviously it's the Oscar winner. It's going to be fantastic, and it was incredible. Can't wait to see what Chloe Zhao does with Eternals. But the whole experience of being back in a cinema, glorious, absolutely glorious. Which is why I'm so excited to talk about our main topic this week. But my God, are you guys planning on going to the cinema this week?
I plan to go on Wednesday. Actually, in fact, I'm planning to watch Pedro Almodovar's new short film for the life of me, which I can't even remember right now, which is so frustrating. So give us one moment. But it's his first English language film, because most of his films that he's done have been in Spanish. It's called The Human Voice, and it's with Tilda Swinton, and it's only going to be 30 minutes. But then after that, there's a Q&A with himself and Mark Kermode talking about the film, talking about his career and his influences as a director. And for me, Pedro Almodovar is just groundbreaking filmmaker in his own right. The way that he was able to break out of post I can't even remember the war it was in now, but in Spain in the 70s, where the way that he was able to break out and create new kind of cinema, a new kind of Spanish cinema, but new, even broader, new kind of cinema for a new generation. And for me, it's awe-inspiring. And, I think even Chloe Zhao would even say that, Almodovar's, artistic style and even his, his unique eye is something to inspire to as well. And I can't wait to go and see that. And it's strange because I've been waiting so long for cinema to return, and the first thing I'm going to see is a short film, because I would be, expecting to be like seeing a feature film kind of thing. But actually, there's something quite special seeing something which is also only going to be in the cinema for one night only in the UK. So it's really that high demand thing of, you got to go when you've got the chance. And that's what I love about cinema, is that you're only going to get that kind of experience really only that once. There's only one, you're only going to get the first time of that first time feeling of watching something in the cinema for the first time. And I'm sorry, but we'll get into that later on, obviously, with your comic book movie cinema going experiences, because there are so many we can choose from in that regard.
Mm-hmm, definitely. How about you, Tom? Are you planning on heading to the theaters this week?
I am looking into it, but I'm just not sure what film I would want to go and see. I might, to be honest, I might just find the trashiest, most awful film there and just go maybe a little bit baked and just enjoy myself, just like grab all the popcorn and just like laugh through what is probably supposed to be a serious film. But as I said, I'm going to find the trashiest
Oh, watch
one.
Mortal Kombat then.
So,
that's the perfect. That's like the ultimate film. If you want that type of film, the new Mortal Kombat is that film.
Okay, I'm gonna go and see Mortal Kombat this week.
I was gonna say, why not Kong versus
Godzilla?
Godzilla?
Because that's not trying to be serious.
Yeah,
that knows what it is. Mortal Kombat is something else entirely.
I respect Godzilla too much to call his films trash. They transcend trash. They're on a whole other level.
That should be on the poster right there. It transcends trash.
We transcend trash.
What a great line.
Put that on a t-shirt.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Right, awesome. So let's get into our first few topics of the week.
Tear up page 1, run that photo instead. Headline: Spider-Man, hero or menace? Exclusive Daily Bugle photo.
So the first one is a absolute huge one for me personally. I spoke to Tom. I know it's a huge one for him personally. And I spoke to you, Rob, and I know this was a big one for you personally as well. And that is, for years now, a couple of years, 2 or 3 years, we've been hearing that Kevin Smith is developing a new Masters, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe animated show for Netflix. He's been talking about it for ages, and we've all been clamoring for something. And finally, we get the first bit of news, as well as our first images and a release date. So it will be releasing, part 1 of this series will be releasing on Netflix 23rd of July. The first 5 episodes will be premiering. And in regards to the show itself, it's called Masters of the Universe Revelation. It's going to be a direct sequel to the 1983 animated show He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. As I said, it's directed by Kevin Smith, and the animation is done by Powerhouse Animation. Tom, you've just watched Castlevania, so it's the same animation studio who did that. And it will also be an adult take on these characters. As for the cast, it's absolutely stacked. We've got Chris Wood as Prince Adams and He-Man. Mark Hamill as Skeletor is just genius casting. Sarah Michelle Gellar as Teela. Lena Headey as Evil Lynn. Alicia Silverstone as Queen Marlena. Stephen Root as Battlecat. Griffin Newman as Orko. And many, many, many more. Like, this cast is absolutely stacked. Rob, I go to you first. You being a big He-Man and the Masters of the Universe fan, as we all are here today, what are your thoughts on the first images and just the first bits of information regarding this series?
I mean, I hope you don't mind, but I will say it. But by the power of Grayskull, my God, what? I mean, at the moment, it's looking like a true love letter to the series and so much more. When it was announced that Kevin Smith was going to be involved in this, I think we all kind of had our worries of certain things, because we know that when he does bring it, have control of other properties, that there are times where he has slipped up, or shall I say, pissed in his pants kind of thing. So I guess you'll get that reference right there. Yeah, sorry, man.
Why did you bring that up?
I'm sorry, but look, this is what I mean. He made Batman piss his pants, people aren't over that. I'm not over that, to be honest with you. But that to one side, I know for a fact that he's a huge fan of this series, and it's in safe hands. And also, I never thought that we would get a better casting in voice acting, like in the animated TV series. The Batman animated TV series, I should say, or even Batman Beyond. But with Invincible coming out, like that voice cast, as you know, Jake, you'd agreed, is incredible. But here, oh my god, just absolutely phenomenal. And having Mark Hamill as Skeletor,
they've
is
taken
just...
half the cast from Batman animated series because Conroy's
There
in
you
this as
go.
well.
Yeah, I can't believe you didn't give Conroy top billing alongside Mark Hamill.
Yeah, exactly.
Merman.
It's just it's the most, with him as Skeletor, it's the most safe casting I've seen in a long time, because I mean there's no one else you can really think of as of right now. Yeah, I can't wait. I think it looks fantastic. I think it's going to sound fantastic. I think the one casting choice I'm really intrigued by, and I think would be lovely, for her to get a kind of almost a bounce back in her career, is Alicia Silverstone. Because I know a lot of people, and let's just not beat around the bush. Hollywood has been horrible to her. Critics were horrible to her. Fans have been horrible to her. Well, let's say fans. The audience have been horrible to her, and yeah, here she is now. She's bouncing back, and she's giving it her all. And you know what? Good on her. And I can't wait for this. It's going to be fantastic. It's going to be special.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. Like, I was reading Kevin Smith's comments and the fact that Netflix came to him and said, look, we don't want a reinvention of the wheel or anything. We just want you to do what was done in the 80s and just do a sequel to that with modern day storytelling and a more adult take on it, but not really changing the mythos or how that show functioned and was structured. So that just brings so much delight to me. But Tom, what do you think of all this?
Yeah, I'm super, super excited for this. I've always loved He-Man, and so soon as I saw the images, I was just like, this is going to be amazing. It just looks so beautiful. I could definitely see like the Castlevania seeping through there as well, which I could appreciate. Another casting announcement, though, which is worth noticing, is the fact that they are getting Alan Oppenheimer, the original Skeletor, in as Moss Man.
Yes,
or some Moss character, but he is going to be in it anyway. So I thought that was like nice that they're bringing him back for that. But yeah, just as you both said, the cast list just seems so stacked. I think like this is just the new normal for anything animated now, which I'm okay with because I love animated films. So I'd love to see more like high profile names like attached to more animated projects. And yeah, I'm just really excited that we're going to get this sequel and that it is going to be a sequel. Some I know have like been using the opportunity of this announcement as well. I feel like I need to say this, like to trash the She-Ra show. And Kevin Smith himself has come out and just told people, nah, not having that. The show was amazing on its own, but it is its own thing. So if people wanted a reinvention of the mythos, She-Ra's right there. If you want a continuation of the original show, we've now got this. And I just think we're getting spoiled for content in the Masters of the Universe at the moment, and I'm all for it. I'm all for this revival. Let's get some more. Hell, let's have a Skeletor solo series. Starring Mark Hamill. Come on.
Oh wow.
I'm asking for it now. Okay, Kevin Smith. I'm putting this out
with
into
Conroy
the ether.
as Merman. Just leading. Yeah, let's do it.
They make it like a buddy cop thing. We're bringing back the buddy cop thing.
Awesome. Yeah, man. I can't wait for this. And they also announced, obviously, the new toy line that's going to coming out with this, because I don't know about you guys, but like most people, I think my introduction to this world was through the toys. Like, I remember the first one I ever saw like on a shelf was Skeletor, and I just saw him. I can't remember how old I was. I was quite young, 6 or 7. I saw him and I was just like, whoa, he looks cool. And at that age, all you want is the cool figures. So I was like, oh my God, I have to have him. And then it was in the sort of early noughties, I can't remember what year, when that new He-Man show came out. Do you remember I think it was like 2002 or 3 or something like that. And I remember seeing that, and that's actually pretty decent. I remember seeing that and being like, oh my God, my toys are coming to life. This is pretty awesome. Then I discovered like the old one, and I just became so in love with that whole world. And I think probably why is because it felt like a sort of different version of Star Wars, and I was obviously the biggest Star Wars fan ever. Like, you could say that He-Man is Luke Skywalker, Skeletor is Darth Vader, and as a matter of fact, I kind of think that the whole reason Masters of the Universe was created was because Mattel couldn't get the toy line for Star Wars. So they were like, well, we need to create a new toy line. So let's create Masters of the Universe. Because Kenner obviously got that. So yeah, this is giving me those type of vibes of like Kevin Smith as a kid playing with his He-Man action figures, because it just takes me back to those days of when I was playing this. And it also gives me the same sort of vibe as like The Mandalorian, where you have Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni, and that truly feels like they're just dumping their old Star Wars toys and having fun. And I'm just getting the exact same vibe here. So I think it's in really good hands, and I can't wait to see this. I honestly can't wait to see this. And also, like, some of the images, I'm actually really glad that they changed up the look of Prince Adam, because look, in the original series, like, there's not that much difference between him and He-Man apart from like the pink waistcoat. Do you know what I mean? He's still like a big muscular dude. So I like they've made him like a scrawny little kid. So there's more impact when he goes, by the power of Grayskull. And you get that
I wouldn't call him
moment.
scrawny. I'd call him lean.
Lean. Okay, let's go with lean.
Lean.
Yeah. I just hope they embrace more of the campier quality of it as well, because ultimately it is.
This show
it's
needs
campy, it's pulpy, it's great.
Yeah.
It's
She-Ra set the bar for like gay as fuck in the new like Masters of the Universe. So now He-Man needs to up that. It needs to. It's not going to top that, but it needs to try and top that.
I was actually speaking to one of my friends, and he mentioned to me, he was like, you know what? He-Man was probably the reason I'm gay. That's just like, that's fair enough, dude. Like,
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Right, so we'll move on to the next story. So this one is, I feel as if this is a nail on the coffin now of a fan casting that has been going on for years. So for years now, fans have always wished that John Krasinski and his partner Emily Blunt play the roles of Reed Richards and Sue Storm, members of the Fantastic Four. Now, in a recent interview, Emily Blunt, obviously promoting the new film A Quiet Place Part 2, she was asked about these casting rumors, you know, which is, it's never really been rumors, it's always been sort of fan castings. And she was also asked about the superhero genre in general. And this is what she has to say about it all. She says, she notes that the genre has permeated not just through film, but through television as well. And her exact quotes are, "We are inundated. It's not only the movies, it's the endless TV shows as well. It's not to say that I never want to play one. It just would have to be something so cool and like a really cool character, and then I'd be interested." She also goes on to say that neither her nor John have received a call or any contact from Marvel regarding this. Tom, before we get into her next comments, what do you make about this first bunch here?
I'll be honest, like whilst I do kind of like understand from a certain point of view why some people might be tired with all the superhero stuff, all the comic book related stuff, and whilst I can certainly see the arguments for why it might be bad for cinema and TV, at the same time, part of me is also thinking that some of these people who think this stuff just need to get over themselves. It's just like, I like I said, I can kind of get it, but equally I find it like a bit disappointing that we keep seeing like, you can't just see actors just say like, oh no, we've not been contacted for a superhero film. I don't know if it's something I'd be interested in. They always have to go the extra mile to stay like why they think there's too much superhero content, or that just it's killing cinema. And it always just becomes this big thing then, which it gets a bit tiring. Personally, I think that whilst there is a lot of superhero content coming out, I think that there's just a lot of content coming out, period. And if people feel inundated with all the superhero stuff, I guarantee you it's not the only genre that's being like pushed out and exploited. Like all these streaming sites are trying to push out content as fast as they can. All the TV like channels that are still, but production companies that are still going are also trying to do that so they can compete with streaming. So I don't think it's that we're inundated with superhero stuff. I think we're inundated with everything. And maybe the fact that the superhero stuff is just more in the public eye is because it's more popular, because it's superhero stuff. It's cool. Everyone wants to see it. And also, despite what people may say or think, comic books and superheroes are a very good vehicle for storytelling, and there's a lot you can get out of them. So is it really surprising that there is so much of it, because there is such a deep well of great content? So it's kind of disappointing in a way to say that we'll never see Emily Blunt or John Krasinski as Reed and Sue Richards. I did kind of have my problems with that fan casting, though, anyway. I never personally saw it. As you know, Jake, we had a discussion about it the other day. But yeah, I think I'm just tired of the narrative that there's just too much superhero stuff around, because I can never have enough superhero stuff.
What I say to those people is like, didn't we just have a plethora of westerns during the 50s and 60s, and then in the 80s and 90s it was just non-stop action movies? It's just the popular genre at the time. Like, that's what I say. Like, get over yourself. I'm getting a very, like, old man yells at cloud sort of thing here, shaking their fist. And it's funny because she goes on, she digs a bit in deeper. Like, she was also asked, because I never knew this. In this interview, it was found out that she was originally going to be playing Black Widow before Scarlett Johansson. She was in talks with Marvel to play the character. And she says, I wanted to work with Robert Downey Jr. It would have been amazing. But I don't know if superhero movies are for me. They're not up my alley. I don't like them. I really don't. End quote. She's not beating around the bush there. She's pretty direct about how she feels about all this. But Rob, what do you make of all this?
Well, if I was Emily Blunt, which is a sentence I normally say every single day of my life, Jake.
Don't we all?
What would Emily Blunt do in that situation? I would love to think that this is all just an act. This is all just a play. I know that sounds so bizarre and so so left field and completely a U-turn, but so many people in the past have done the whole no comment, and loving the teasing to the fans and everything about casting and stuff. I kind of hope it still is, to be honest with you. This is all kind of a big play, and if she's not necessarily in the Fantastic Four, then maybe John Krasinski is. And because you have to remember, he was once auditioned for Captain America. He was in the suiting stages. He apparently tried on the suit and, felt good and everything. And, it just didn't work out in the end. They went with, the right person in the end, another Fantastic Four member, Chris Evans. And yeah, I would, as I said, my part of me would love it if actually this was all a hoax, but I don't think it is. And I think in regards to them being cast anyway, I think similarly to you, Tom, is that I don't think that they necessarily are the right people for the role. And also, I think, why would you want to put more strain on their marriage? So, do you know what I mean? They've done movies together already, with The Quiet Place, which apparently was a successful collaboration. And you know what? Fair play to them, because trust me, I've been there. It's tough. But why put more pressure on them to get a babysitter to look after their kids while they're off being superheroes and being the first family of superheroes in the Marvel universe. Let them do their own things and let either one of them be part of this world if they still want to be or not. But as you said, Emily is very adamant that she just doesn't want to be part of it, and that's absolutely fine. And to be honest with you, just make way for fresh new talent. I would love it if we had an unknown, to be honest with you, an unknown pair of actors. I don't think that's going to be the case, because that's just not the system right now. I don't want that to be the system for the ongoing future. As you know, I want there to be more fresh talent out there to be brought to the big screen. So that's my kind of take on it.
My thought here is that I think Marvel already have their Fantastic Four. I genuinely believe they've already got it's done. It's contracts maybe not signed, but it's a done deal. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because these things, Rob, these things take so much time to develop. And judging, like we said last week when we spoke about that scissor reel, you do not tease the end of that Phase 4 scissor reel with Fantastic Four unless they are actually in Phase 4, which my theory is that film will premiere towards the end of 2023. It's not that long. That's 2.5 years away. It's not that. You got to get into production, pre-production, production, and post-production on these films takes fucking forever. Do you know what I mean? They arguably take the longest stage of any stage in production. So they've already got their cast. And I just think if Emily Blunt is saying things like this, it's not happening. She's pretty blunt about this.
Hey.
I'll see myself out.
This guy. This guy.
So yeah, she seems like she's pretty direct about this, that it's not happening, it's not her thing. So I think as a community, as a fandom, let's just all move on from Emily Blunt and John Krasinski as Reed Richards and Sue Storm. Granted, look, I would have loved to see them in the roles personally. I do see, especially Emily Blunt, actually. I do see Sue Storm when I see Emily Blunt. And man, to have a talent like Emily Blunt in the Fantastic Four, to be fair, she doesn't have to be Sue Storm. Cast her in fucking anything because she's just a treasure. But we'll see what happens.
Go ahead. I was going to say, can I just quickly mention that Chris Pine once said in an interview, I'm not really into sci-fi movies, and yet he went on to go and do Star Trek. And then he also went on to do Wonder Woman.
Loads of these actors have said this shit before, and then just bring that truck of money coming. Yep.
Yeah.
Just dump the money. Just dump it over here on my $1 billion house. I'll sign up for your movie. That's fine.
Also, I love that meme of the. I'm sure you've seen it, where it's the Fantastic Four logo, and the guy's really excited, and then in the image below it says Captain America 4.
I've seen the meme.
I just thought as a one.
I would have flipped tables if like that had actually happened. I would just go, what the fuck?
Right, so let's stick with the MCU for our last small news topic, and that is 2 clips have been released, one from the TV series Loki and one from the upcoming movie Black Widow. In regards to Black Widow, I don't know how much more of this movie you could show with the amount of trailers we've gotten already. But I did really...
Wait, you could just show the movie?
You could just show the movie. I mean, we're all waiting to watch that. But I did really like the Loki one. I'm just so on board for Owen Wilson and Tom Hiddleston. That chemistry is awesome. Rob, I'll start with you. Any of these particular 2 stand out to you?
Ooh, I think for me, because I said just before coming on that I've tried to avoid these clips, if I'm honest with you, just because I want to go in completely blind, because it worked out really well for me with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and because completely just gobsmacked how good it was. And it was the same with WandaVision as well. I went in completely blind with that as well, didn't see any of the clips or anything like that. And
well, I'm sorry I had to make you watch these clips.
No, don't worry about that. No. I mean, the one thing that I'm really pleased about with these 2 clips, I will say collectively, is it does feel like they're both going in the right direction, in that we're getting something completely different with Loki, first of all, I think. They're also delving into something which I think a lot of people have been suspecting for some time, which is the multiverse and connected timelines and all of that stuff, which was set up in Endgame? Yes, Endgame. And then you've got Black Widow, which is sticking with its roots, which is the kind of 1970s throwback thriller genre, which, I have said on numerous occasions that Captain America and the Winter Soldier is by far the best MCU movie, for me anyway, because it's just, it's pure visual storytelling, cinema at its best, and, it's a perfect balance between reality versus fantasy. And, and I think this is what Black Widow will do once again. However, I will say this once again, I'm still disgusted, and this is not going to be a rant, so do not worry, Jake. I'm not going to go on a massive rant about this, but I am disgusted still that it has taken 20 plus movies to get to this point for getting a Black Widow movie. And it's that moment where you just think, well, you had a chance when you did Iron Man. You were more than capable of doing Incredible Hulk, Captain America, Thor. I mean, let's be honest, who gave a shit about Thor before we saw Chris Hemsworth, right? But when we saw Scarlett Johansson as Black Widow in Iron Man 2, we were like, give her the movie. Give her the next movie. But they didn't. They held off. And I'm even and as I said, I'm just flabbergasted even to this day that we only are getting this movie now. But from what I've seen, and the fact that I've seen not the lady on the motorbike, but the lady who reveals to be the one, you know who I mean. She's someone I know, and she's lovely, and she doesn't shoot guns in real life. I'd like to make that comment. And
good.
yeah,
Good.
yeah, I love that. Good. But yeah, Simona's just really lovely, great actor, and I can't wait to see what more she does in that film. And it looks awesome, is the best way of putting it.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. It really invokes that 70s spy espionage thriller. Like I'm just picturing like a James Bond, like sort of car chase sort of sequence. And yeah, I completely agree with you. The Black Widow, we've talked about this numerous times on the show before, that it is 10 years too late for this movie. Should have come out in phase 1, all that stuff. And I've always felt kind of, I don't know, a bit shitty about the fact that you waited until you killed her off to get a movie. Like that's a bit, I don't like. Yeah. Why'd you have to do that? And the fact that, this movie takes place before her death, and I'm like, well, you could have then made it at that point. Like,
exactly.
It baffles me, because apparently it's meant to take place in between Civil War and Infinity War when they're on the run. So
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. So why didn't the movie come out then?
Yeah, it's one of those moments where you just think, I don't know. It's frustrating. There's nothing more to say. It's just very, very, very frustrating. And let's be honest, lads. Like, I mean, I do care about the character and I do care about this movie. But let's be honest. Do I really want to shred back onto going back to, films that happened in 2016, between 2016 and 2018? Not really, to be honest with you, because we're moving forward now. We've gone so far forward with the MCU now. Like, I just don't know what they can do unless they do something that they did with Falcon and Winter Soldier, which is delve into the themes of today.
Well, I was actually going to say, Rob, I think they are going to touch on that, because Florence Pugh's character, I think she is going to be set up in this film to be the next Black Widow or some form of mantle going forward. And you know what? I love Scarlett Johansson, but I absolutely adore Florence Pugh. She is an Oscar winner in the making. Like, hear me now. I'm saying this now. She is going to win loads of awards. She is fantastic. And I am more excited to see her in whatever new Black Widow incarnation she's going to be than I ever was for Scarlett Johansson. So that's, for me, is what I'm looking forward to in this film, is seeing Florence Pugh. Tom, what about Loki? What do you think of the Loki clip?
Hell yeah! Loki. It's Loki, bitches, and Owen Wilson, and it's awesome. I loved it. Yeah, it was great to actually see a bit more interaction with Mobius and Loki. Obviously, we got a few moments of that clip like in the trailer, so it was just like a bit added on there. But I really did like the dynamic and just the whole like the classic Loki thing of just like being all smug and arrogant, and then like Mobius turn around going, "I thought you didn't like to talk." It was just like, ooh. I'm going to love this dynamic. It's going to be great. And I mean, Owen Wilson's a beautiful man. I'm also just really excited to see Owen Wilson again, because like I feel like I haven't seen him in a lot recently. I know there was a few years ago, around the time he appeared in that film where he was like helping these. Basically, the plot of the film was he was like this guy who fights school bullies, and these like small kids hire him to help fight off their bullies. I know at the time he was also going through some really personal shit. So maybe that's something why we haven't seen him in a while, but I am happy to see him again, and I hope that this is a kickstart of an Owen Wilson resurgence. I mean, we've had a Brendan Fraser resurgence. Let's have an Owen Wilson resurgence. In fact, get the two of them in a film together. Rob, this is on you. You got to do this for me.
I will do my very best. I mean,
okay, thank you. I'm taking you at your words because you got Batman on your hat. So yeah, I'm very excited for Loki. I think it's promising to be, and it's probably the most hyped I am for any Marvel product that isn't Shang-Chi. So yeah, just June can't come fast enough for me. I need the show, and I need it now. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm just like, the clip is cool. It's extended scene of what we've already seen in the trailers, but I'm like, I don't want any more footage. I just want the show now. Rob, what did you think of it? I'm absolutely loving the chemistry between Tom Hiddleston and Owen Wilson in just this short 50 seconds. I'm like, yep, I can see this for the whole 6 episodes. I'm going to love this.
It's funny because I rewatched not too long ago Royal Tenenbaums, and I rewatched the Grand Budapest Hotel, and Owen Wilson, and also the film Midnight in Paris, which I just love anyway. I love that movie. And as terrible as this sounds, I just forget how charming Owen Wilson is as an actor and how good he is as an actor as well. I don't think he gets enough credit, if I'm honest with you, as an actor. And I just think his comedic timing and his honesty and his just his charm again will bounce off Tom Hiddleston's Loki so well, because here you've got another charming character bouncing off one another, and I'm looking forward to Loki as well. And I think the directors involved in it as well, in particular, like Kate Herron as well, who also did Sex Education. I think she's going to knock it out of the park as well with her episodes that she's done. And yeah, and
the writers from Rick and Morty as well.
Exactly. Now, please forgive me, because I'm just trying to think about Loki as well, because I can't remember if it was this or was it Falcon and the Winter Soldier which got pushed back and it was rearranged, because I remember there was a rearrangement at some point of.
It's all been rearranged, Rob.
I honestly can't tell you the original lineup off the top of my head.
all I can remember was that Falcon and the Winter Soldier was meant to be the first series. It was meant to come out before WandaVision. There was rumors that some of Black Widow, some of that storyline, or some of the characters would seep through into Falcon and the Winter Soldier, which makes sense. But because of COVID and the restructuring, it all got changed up a bit. So
because isn't and I know I'm supposed to keep this in my head, but wasn't Val supposed to be in Black Widow?
She is going to be in Black Widow.
So she is going to be in Black Widow.
Yeah, according to what I've heard online and stuff, like, yes, it's happening. She is going to be in Black Widow, but she was meant to be introduced in Black Widow initially,
right,
to then go into Falcon and Winter Soldier. But
right, because it's just interesting to see where this is placed. That's the interesting thing for me with Loki, is where is it placed?
It's kind of placed everywhere because it is through the time stream. But I also think it's something that fans should remember here. This is not the same Loki that we've grown with through the last 10 years or so. This is the Loki after the first Avengers movie. So he hasn't had the experience of losing his mother or his father, everything that happened in Infinity War and Ragnarok. He hasn't gone through all that. So it's going to be interesting to see how Tom Hiddleston plays this part, going back to the original Loki, you could say. All right, so that brings us to the end of the news stories. So we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with our main topic. All right, so we're back and we're going to get into our main topic. And as I said up top, cinemas are back open in the UK. We're all very excited. I've seen a film in the cinema. I'm going to be seeing plenty more. So I thought it'd be really fun if we just talked about our favorite moments in a cinema related to a comic book movie. So this could be the whole film in general. This could be a specific scene. Doesn't necessarily have to be about the film itself. It could be a funny moment, stuff that just only happens in a cinema that you won't experience elsewhere. Rob, as our guest, I'll start with you. What's one moment that you've got?
Oh, that's a real tough one. The one that sticks to mind straight away, especially in regards to comic book movies as well, is the first IMAX film I saw in an IMAX theatre, and it was in the BFI IMAX in London. And I'm going to go with the obvious one because it was the first, and it was The Dark Knight. And seeing that film, but it's not just the moments in the film, but the opening shot of the film where it's just got this big scope and it's the building and so I've seen the film 3 times in IMAX. I watched it once when it came out back in 2008. I watched it again a few years later after that for an all-night screening of the Dark Knight trilogy. And then I watched it again for a special 10-year kind of anniversary of the film's release thing. And each time I have seen that film, the opening shot always gets a round of applause because it's just a magnificent way to open the film and the scope of the film as well. And then you've got the incredible bank heist sequence as well, all shot in IMAX. And you've got, the incredible performance by Heath Ledger within that as well. But every moment of the film where it becomes, because I think there was about only 30 minutes of IMAX footage at the time on this particular film that Nolan had done. But each time the IMAX footage was shown on screen, there was always an applause. And you as an audience member, you feel so, it just fills your heart with joy, not just as an audience member, but as a storyteller, as a filmmaker. And I imagine for Nolan, it was probably an amazing feeling each time to knowing that people are going to have a reaction that way to your film. And, not just, the IMAX footage, as I said, but like when the truck flips over and you realize afterwards it was done for real. I mean, fucking hell, what an amazing achievement that is. And, and then the final thing I'll just say in regards to The Dark Knight is you have one of, for me, the most important scene in cinema for me as a 17-year-old. And it's the interrogation sequence between Joker and Batman. And you have to remind yourself at the end of the day, there is a man dressed as a bat and a man in clown makeup talking about the grey area of justice and being philosophical about what it means to be either a good person or a really not good person. I'm not a monster. I'm just ahead of the curve. And it's just a beautifully acted...
Cinema.
It's cinema. It is. It's cinema. It's cinema.
Scorsese,
it's cinema.
Go eat your heart out. That's fucking cinema right there. Like, do you know what I mean?
I love Scorsese, and look, I will respect the man forever. But of course, that will be the moment I will say to him, like, if you want to point out superhero movies, go and rewatch that scene because beautifully acted, beautifully directed, beautifully photographed. Everything you would expect cinema to be is in that one sequence, and it changed my life forever. And it made me realize that you could take this property and take it further and beyond the expectations of this material.
Awesome. I mean, I'm pretty sure, Tom, you've got a Dark Knight story as well. So while we're on the Dark Knight and the Dark Knight trilogy, I have to echo your thoughts, Rob. Like, seeing the Dark Knight for the first time. Now, I'll give a bit of background. Now, I saw it when I was still back home in Gibraltar. Now, at the time in Gibraltar, we had one cinema, one screen. That's all we had as a nation. Do you know what I mean? So, hot off the tails of Batman Begins, and I actually have a story regarding Batman Begins, so I'll start with that. So, seeing that one for the first time, I went to the cinema, again, this one cinema, one screen, and I went there and I was by myself watching this film. And I was 12 years old. I remember the summer of 2005 very well because I saw Batman Begins and then Revenge of the Sith within a few weeks of each other. Obviously, Revenge of the Sith, that was a whole packed house. But I remember going to Batman Begins and it was empty. And I was like, what? This is rather odd. Like, this is a new Batman film. And me as a kid thinking at the time, not really knowing that people, more adults, were like, well, I'm not going to go see comic book movies, especially after Batman and Robin and all sort of that fiasco. Batman had a bit of a stinker in his name. Do you know what I mean? So there was a bit of a challenge to overcome that. So when I saw this and I was completely enthralled by Batman Begins, I remember feeling like, am I the only one in Gibraltar who has seen this magnificent film? People do not know what they're missing. Like, I was just like, what? How is nobody here? How am I watching? Oh my God, it's amazing. And 3 years later, to a completely packed, every single seat was taken for the Dark Knight opening night. Unfortunately, I've never seen that film in IMAX, Rob. I've never had the pleasure. but still seeing that in a packed house. And like I said, it's one cinema on screen, and every single seat was filled, so you truly felt like the whole country was watching this film. It just felt like this huge, huge event. And then seeing the whole film, it was the first time that I left the movie theater and I was like, I'm going again, and I'm going tomorrow. And it was the very first film that I saw multiple times in the cinema. I ended up seeing it 3 times in the cinema in its first round. But that one will always stick with me. And then with The Dark Knight Rises, it was really interesting because that was the first IMAX film I ever saw, was The Dark Knight Rises. By this point, I was already in the UK. I remember actually going to see the prologue when it was opening in IMAX. Do you remember, Rob, they just debuted that scene in front of another film?
It was Mission Impossible.
Yes, that was it. That was it. And I this is more of a negative one, actually. So we went there, Mission Impossible, and I was actually, sure, Mission Impossible, I like those films, but I'm here to see this. Like, the follow-up to The Dark Knight. I want to see how this opens. We'd already know that Bane was there, and it was amazing seeing that. But then, as soon as Bane started speaking, I just turned to my friend and I said, oh no, what's happening? And it was really funny because as soon as we watched Mission Impossible, we came out of the film and all we talked about was the Dark Knight Rises prologue and Bane's. We talked nothing about Mission Impossible. That's sort of like my Dark Knight trilogy experiences. Tom, do you have any Dark Knight, or is there any others you want to bring up?
I'll talk a bit of Dark Knight, and probably mostly actually Batman Begins, because same as you, Jake. Dark Knight was actually the first film I went to see like multiple times in the cinema. First time I saw it, I was just blown away, especially by Heath Ledger's performance. Just that scene when he arrives at Bruce Wayne's party, and I was already sold on his Joker, but that scene I was like, no, this is the greatest Joker in anything ever. But before Batman Begins, I remember like my only experience with Batman was obviously just, through the collective unconscious. Like everyone knows Batman, everyone knows Superman. I'd watched like a bit of the Batman animated series growing up, and I'd seen all like the previous films. So Tim Burton ones, which whilst I do enjoy, and I definitely love Jack Nicholson, I do think Jack Nicholson kind of carried the first film. Please don't shoot me. That is, I think if they got anyone other than Jack Nicholson, it might not have worked. And then after seeing like Batman Forever and Batman and Robin especially, I had this like idea in my head of what Batman was, and I didn't actually think he was that cool. And I'll be honest, and I can't believe I'm saying this now, I actually thought he was overrated. I actually kind of do now a little bit, but for completely different reasons, because I'm more educated in the world of comics. But when I went to see Batman Begins, like I'd had mates go and see it, and I remember like thinking like, well, I mean, it's a Batman film. Like how interesting can it be? It's just going to be like a bit goofy, and it's a man dressed as a bat. And they were like, no, Tom, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. It's like Batman's awesome now. I was like, I'll be the judge of that. So yeah, I went to see Batman Begins in the cinema, and holy fuck, I've never had like a fast 180 on my opinion on something as when I saw him just take down the League of Shadows and like burn down their entire thing. And I was like, whoa, what? And actually the bit that really got me is when you first see like Bruce in that like prison area thing, and that guy just starts like beating on him, and it's just like, you're in hell and I'm the devil. And he just gets him and goes, you're not the devil, just you just practice. I was just like, oh, and just watching the whole film, seeing him suit up as Batman for the first time, just seeing him do his thing, like that first sequence when they're amongst all like the crates in like the docking area, and he's just like dipping in and out, and you can't see him, but like the bad guys are just like getting taken out left, right, and center, and just I was like so blown away that like I completely abandoned all pretense of being like, I am a Marvel only fan, screw any DC property. I was like, Batman is cool, Batman is amazing, and I've been so wrong all my life. And even now, like I said, I have some issues maybe with like the first couple of Batman films, but I can actually look back now and enjoy them way more than I used to, just because I love the characters so much more now. And it was going to the cinema to see Batman Begins that did that for me. because I got to see Batman literally in all his glory. And then again, like, just the whole Dark Knight trilogy basically is what got me to love Batman. And then Tom King was what got me to love him even more in the comics. So
You're not alone, Tom. Like, plenty of people like found their love of Batman through Chris Nolan's movies. Like, it's funny because I think those movies are talked about a lot, but also not talked about enough. It's that weird floating area where people understand how much of an impact they made, but do they really understand what these movies did? Like, it's incredible.
I don't think they do.
Let's get out. I think we should let's get out this one. Put this one in the Hall of Fame because I think we've all got an experience with this one, and that is, of course, Avengers Endgame. We all must have had some form of emotional or traumatic experience with this film. Like, I remember for me, like, it was me, my girlfriend, and my friend. We arrived at the foyer, and it was just this sense of excitement, but also nervousness. Like, it was that feeling you got of, you ever get this weird feeling in your stomach before you're about to go on a flight? I don't know. I get that sometimes. I'm like, oh, I don't know, about to go on a plane and stuff.
No, I get that.
I know what you mean. Like the time when you walk into Revenge of the Sith and you go, oh, I hope it's not another Attack of the Clones. I mean, I get, yeah.
Yes, but not that negative, Rob. It was just this sense of mystery that it was like, what the hell is going to happen? Like, and I was just nervous and like sick in my stomach. I was just like, oh my God, I can't wait. I'm about to see what's about to happen. And then obviously the film plays out. We mentioned this in our last episode that normally British crowds tend to be a bit more reserved, compared to, like, let's say American audiences. American audiences do like to go over top at times, which is fine. I'm all for screaming and shouting if it's a fantastic moment. But man, I have never heard a British audience scream, yell, and just cheer with joy as loud as I did watching Avengers Endgame. And it was one of the most communal experiences I think I've ever had. Like, it just felt like we're all in this together. We're all on this journey, watching these heroes fighting Thanos. All the emotions are hitting us all at the same time. We're all cheering, we're all laughing, we're all crying together. It was just this sense of community, this sense of, whether you're black, white, gay, whatever political side you stand on, that didn't matter. We were all in this world for this 3 hours, and it was just incredible. And I cried, I cheered, I did all sorts. It was one of the most, and I'd probably say the most of recent memory, memorable cinematic experiences I've ever had. Absolutely incredible.
No, I completely agree with you. I mean, he said assemble, and we all did. We all went to join in that, and like, yeah, it was one of the best experiences I've had in a cinema. I mean, just everything from Steve picking up Mjolnir, which, like, that was just one of the most satisfying moments in the MCU's history. And I thought, they can't top this. They can't top that. And then finally, we have Captain America say Avengers Assemble. I know some people complain about how he did it, or just like, oh, well, they'd already assembled and he like said it quietly. No, it was perfectly done, perfectly executed. They like couldn't, like, sure, from maybe an in-universe perspective, like, sure, maybe it was a bit weird, but we're not in the universe. We're watching a film, and it was just beautiful. Just, I mean, I thought I genuinely didn't think it could top my experience with Infinity War, because like Infinity War was so miles above any of the cinema experience I had. I thought that like, oh, Endgame is going to be like up there, maybe like level. I didn't think it could peak that. And then it just did. So yeah, I think anyone who didn't go and see Endgame like in the cinema when it was released really kind of missed out, to be honest, because I kind of agree with Jake. There was just like, I felt connected to everyone in that room in that moment. I didn't give a shit like who they were, what they'd done with their lives, what they believed. All we all cared about in that moment was seeing the Avengers assemble to take on Thanos. And we got that. And we even technically got the Thanos copter. And that made it all worth it.
Rob, what's your Endgame experience?
So my Endgame experience, I have to be honest with you as well. Like, if we're going to include Endgame, then in the Smithsonian, we have to put Infinity War in there as well, because as you both collectively said, we all walked in together. Maybe not in the same cinema, but we all collectively went to a cinema at 1 minute past midnight. Whether it's in Bristol, whether it's in London, whether it's in America or in Hong Kong.
Well, you did. I'm tI'm too old for that. I can't do the midnight showings.
Oh, did you not do that?
No, I can't.
Oh, okay.
I can't, man. I can't do it.
See, I'm not gonna lie to you. I pissed off so many people calling them up at like 3:30 saying, "Dude, I just watched it. What did you think?" And they're like, "I've got a kid who's just woken up, and you have just woken up my kid, man." And I'm like, "I'm so sorry," but he was like, "But how was it?" And I was like, "It was so good." Yeah. So apart from that one individual to one side, I remember when I watched Infinity War, and it's funny because I'd read the book, The Infinity Gauntlet, and I'll be completely honest with you, I'm not a huge fan of it. Like, I think it has its moments, but it's not a breaking piece. Yeah. But I knew something was going to happen, but I just didn't know when it was going to be. Part of me was thinking, very early on, oh, he's I wonder when they're going to lead up to, like that. And then when it happens, I've never heard such a collective. The moment we always bring it back to Star Wars, I swear. That moment in A New Hope when there's that collective cry from Alderaan when it's blown up, and Obi-Wan just sits back and goes, it was almost like everyone in the cinema and around the world, even if you hadn't seen Infinity War, everyone at that moment, when you heard the like that, everyone just went.
Everyone took a breath, yeah.
Yeah, everyone took a breath like, oh my God. And then you see what happens, and everyone was going, oh no. Oh no. And then, of course, when Spider-Man does his, I don't feel so good. And you're just like, oh God, no. Peter, no. And yeah, and so, Endgame is not what it is without Infinity War. So once you bring that all into the equation, and, I, same as you guys, I laughed, I cried, I cheered, I cried again. I then, as I said, woke up a lot of my friends, and also woke up my friend who's got a kid, and woke up that kid. But, the one of the greatest things I love about comic book fandom and cinema, when they gel together, is the fandom when they're showing their passion outside of it. So, people turning up at 1 minute past midnight wearing t-shirts is one thing, but when you're dressed up as these characters, like seeing a little boy dressed as Black Panther doing that is a wonderful sight. And for them to walk into the screening, well, first of all, I said, that's quite irresponsible of you to have a 6-year-old child at 1 minute past midnight in central London.
It's Endgame, man.
Yeah, come on, man.
I probably would do the same.
I would do the same. I'd be like, Junior, you're not going to school tomorrow.
Just a whole collective of schools, like, just being like, God, we've lost.
Where's all the kids?
Yeah, where's you all gone?
Well, they all got snapped, didn't they? That's what
they got snapped.
Yeah, it's all blipped. And yeah, that's a wonderful sight. Just seeing loads of people dressed up, and I didn't get fully dressed up, but I was in like Avengers like top and fandom and all. I got the popcorn, I got the souvenir cup. A lot of people don't remember that those are the things that also play into that as well. You just have the popcorn. It's a blockbuster, so it adds to all of that. So I had my popcorn, had my M&Ms mixed in there. I know it sounds outrageous, but that's what I did. And I will never forget. Well, there's two things I'll never forget, but there was the guy that dressed up as Superman, and he got this huge boo from the audience, which was amazing. And I did actually say to him, brave man, brave man. But when, you had your cheers, your cries, your laughters, but I will never forget when you hear Sam, Cap, it's Sam, do you read me? And on your left, and you see Black Panther come out. Everybody, when I say everybody, they cheered, but they went, Wakanda forever, and, chanting Ibom Bay. And when everyone comes out of the portals, I will never forget this. This was the second favorite bit of mine, was someone shouted so loud this line that everyone cheered. He went, whatever it takes, and everyone went yes, like
That's
that in the
fucking amazing.
cinema. And that's when you had your Avengers Assemble moment, and then a collective cheer again. And you know, we said it once and we'll say it again: cinema, man,
Cinema. Man, I'm actually getting teary-eyed because it's just bringing back all these memories. Like, Tom, you got any others? Any special movies that come to mind for you?
I've got two like moments to mention. One I'll kind of mention briefly. One I'll touch on a bit more. But seeing Doctor Strange in the cinema in 3D whilst baked off of my tits. Whoa! What an experience that was, and I loved it. Just that moment where just like Ancient One is just like, now you know what, Steven, I'm gonna throw you through the fucking multiverse, and I was there just like big. I was like, dude, this is fucking awesome. And it was I'd never really understood the hype behind 3D cinema before then, but then I was like, for this needs to be done in 3D whilst I can currently see sounds. And yeah, it was just fantastic. And then the second one, which like I'm not going to call it like a moment but more of an experience, was for Age of Ultron on the day of release. I did see it when it dropped on midnight, but also for the 20 hours previous to that, I'd been in the cinema watching a massive Marvel marathon from Iron Man all the way up to Age of Ultron.
Whoa.
And it was Age of Ultron in 3D. It was 22 hours altogether. Weirdly, Guardians of the Galaxy wasn't included.
Why?
I think it was because like
they weren't part of the Avengers or something.
Yeah, they weren't part of the Avengers. Like their story was, even though like, you know, they had a lot of exposition on the stones, and in fact that film did a lot to build up the stones, it didn't come into it. So they also didn't have Incredible Hulk, but that's understandable. But it was still 22 hours of like, and there was like, so initially it was like 15-minute breaks between the films, and then obviously you get a bigger break for like during the lunch hours and that. But I can't remember what time me and my mate must have, we must have shown up like 2 a.m. or something, and then we left like at 2 like the next day pretty much. And it was biblical, it was epic. And what I will say is, as much as I enjoyed that experience, as much as I loved it, and as much as that might be the reason I love Age of Ultron so much whilst others try and tear it down, my God, that cinema stank by the end.
Oh man.
God.
There was a musk. And like me and my mate had been like sneaking like smokes out because it was in Cardiff, so we just like walked down onto the bridge by the Millennium Stadium, the Principality Stadium now, and just in between, and then we're going back in, and just like every time we went back in, it was just like, oh, there's the musk. Okay, get the drinks, get the popcorn, sit down. I feel sorry for whoever had to sit next to us because they were probably just like, oh God, here's the ganj. Oh no.
It's that.
Sorry, man.
It's that smell.
I needed to.
That smell. You can only recreate that smell with nerds, though. You don't get that with
so
just
many people.
normal movie audiences. That's the It's the same sort of stench you smell when you're at a Comic-Con. You're like, this is a nerd sweat. Like we're all just getting sweaty right now, and it's awesome. Like
And things, there were people who like came into the marathon like halfway through, people who kind of left and then like came back like closer to Age of Ultron. There were people who just fell asleep out in the foyer, in the cinema, on the street. Me and my friend were there, stayed awake the entire fucking time, and then we went back to Swansea to our flats, had some drinks and a few more smokes, and we just discussed it, and then we crashed and went to bed. And it was a biblical experience, and I would 100% not do it again. Not now. Not while I'm this old.
I don't think I could ever do that. Rob, you got any others?
In terms of... okay, so... do you know what? One of the first cinema tickets, because I save all of my cinema tickets. I don't know if you guys do the same, but like I started doing it when I was... Oh, God, when was this film released? So I would have been 12 years old. So it was the first cinema ticket I kept was X-Men 2. Because I remember watching that in the cinema, and I just started thinking to myself as a kid at the time, I was, very, big on like, mementos. And I started collecting my cinema tokens and, tickets and stuff. And it almost became this like like a memorabilia, this like the proof that you saw something, right? And I still got it to this day of watching X-Men 2. And I remember watching that film and loving the X-Men cartoon and just loving the fact it's the same feeling I got again with watching The Dark Knight and just being like, this is taking the source material so seriously and so well. And I will never ever forget the White House sequence with Nightcrawler. That to me is one of the best opening sequences in a superhero movie, first of all, but also just an amazing piece of stunt work, visual effects. When you look at the behind the scenes of how they made that as well, the wire work and the visual effects, and it's just absolutely phenomenal. Then you fast forward many years later and you think, I don't know if there's a film that's going to top this film or anything like that. I've seen so many other X-Men films that did, something quite entertaining, something similar, something not so similar, something not so seriously, X-Men Origins. But then you get Logan. And Logan is, I think it came out maybe a year before, or maybe just around the same time as, actually I think it was a year before, and Infinity War.
Yeah, it was 2017, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, and I think it's probably the first time I'd seen so many grown men cry all in one moment, and it was just such a beautifully told film. And I know that a lot of people try to nitpick the film now, but it's a fantastic film, and just the experience of watching it is just, each time I've watched it, I see something completely new with it. And I've seen the film twice in cinema. Once in its initial release, and then once in its black and white noir release. And to me, that is the best way that you can watch the film now, because I feel like if you watch the film in color, you don't feel the weight of the claws and the weight of the actions that Logan has in that film. Whereas in noir, you feel all of that, and you wince at the splatters and stuff, because you know what the color is instinctively. So when you see it in black and white, it almost becomes this like horror movie almost. And I love seeing different interpretations of movies like that, and especially when you're in the cinema as well. And I never thought I'd get that kind of reaction watching a film which is basically the same but in a different color graded format. And if there's one film I just would like to quickly mention, because I know that this will be happening in the future, so I'm going to slightly cheat here, because I know that this is going to be it's going to happen, but I can't wait for us lot, the Cowls and Masks lot, to take a visit and see Zack Snyder's Justice League on the big screen. Because I know that, we will probably stink out the cinema with our musk and our sweat and, all of this other stuff, but we will collectively look at it and watch it and go, do you know what? It was good at home, but it's better on the big screen.
IMAX.
In IMAX, exactly. It's going to be better, because, you're going to feel like we're replacing the awful memory of watching it in 2017, of what was the Justice League, and we're now going to see a film which, let's just say it, justice was served.
Yeah, I hope we do. I do hope they can sort something out for them to get it in the cinemas. I know they are in America. Zack Snyder has confirmed. Whether or not we get it in the UK, that remains to be seen. I've got one funny story, because this is hilarious, and I tell this to a lot of people. So the film was Dredd, the 2012 film Dredd. Ooh, fantastic film, by the way, absolutely great. And I almost missed it, right? So I just had a lot on at the time. I was like, I wanted to see this, but I can't. And then I found out it was the last day it was showing in the cinemas. After that, it was gone. And it wasn't long as well. It was only like 3 or 4 weeks after it debuted, because it didn't do well at the box office at all. Like, not many people turned up to see it. So I was like, okay, last day, I'll go see it. Went there. There was nobody in there. Like, I'm talking, there was not a soul. Got my seat right in the middle, and I'm like, cool, man. That's I'm cool with this. I get to see this by myself. No people looking at their phones and opening packets of crisps and all that rubbish. So I'm just there. The film's about to start. One person walks in, right? This is an empty theater, right? I just want to make this clear. Every single seat is available. This dude walks up the aisle. I'm watching him, right? Comes to my row and sits right next to me. I just looked. Honestly, this is what happened. I turned to my right-hand side. I looked at him and I said, dude. And he just got up and got to another seat. One of the most bizarre experiences I've ever had in the cinema. I don't even think he made it to the end of the film. I think he left like halfway or something. But I was just like,
oh, man.
What a bizarre experience. Honestly,
that's wonderful.
No words were said. Just came up to me, sat down. I looked at him, dude. And then he just got up and went to another seat. Absolutely hilarious.
Wonderful. That's amazing.
And that's something that you can't recreate anywhere else but in the cinema. Do you know what I mean?
No. Oh. Do you know, I wish I'd told my story. Actually, I probably can. I'll tell it anyway. But it's not related, sadly, to a comic book. Actually, I probably have seen a comic book movie, bearing in mind. But I used to live right next door to a cinema in Bristol. So you can probably pinpoint it to you. So there's Showcase Cinema Deluxe, and then there's like student accommodation. Do you know where I'm talking about? Yeah, you probably do. Anyway, I was so lazy that I would just go in my pajamas. Like, I would literally go to the cinema. And do you know what their name was at the cinema for me? They called me Mr. PJs because I kept going all the time to the cinema in my pajamas and my slippers as well. And they even... I bumped
you gotta be comfy.
I actually bumped into one of my ex-partners there, and they went, so, you seem to be doing well. And I went... I was like, yep. Yeah, I am.
In the cinema, in my PJs.
In my PJs. Life is good, man. Life is good.
Yeah.
I can just imagine you turning up like the dude from The Big Lebowski.
Pretty much.
With your like martini, like your like whatever drink you're having. You're like, yo, dude. Like...
Yeah, you just got to seize the power in that moment and own it. You see your ex when you're in that situation, and you just got to instantly shout, I destroyed the videotape we made. Even if you never made a videotape, because everyone's going to be like, wait, what? And then she's going to be on the defensive like, yeah, see ya. And then you don't have to, chat to it whilst you're in your pajamas.
XX rated.
There is no flaw to this plan.
Oh, God, could you imagine if it was revealed that actually I was the guy that sat next to you, Jake, all this time, and you'd be like, oh my God. There's the guy, and he was Mr. PJs.
That guy. I knew he was familiar. He was familiar. Tom, do you have any others you'd like to bring up?
I guess my first ever date was Iron Man 2. Not the best film to take a date to, let's be fair. Nah. It just makes me laugh that like one of my least favorite MCU films is also tied to the memory of my first ever date.
But did the date go well?
I mean, as far as it can go well for however fucking old I was at the time. I don't know. I was young. But yeah, she seemed to enjoy it. I mean, that was a red flag, actually. She was, isn't that the greatest film you've ever seen? Right, you need to leave. Is the bus fair? Fuck off.
There you are. No, I have a similar story, but in a more positive sense. Like, the MCU did bring me and Chloe together. Like, it's funny how a lot... You do hear stories of the MCU brought us together, and it was because it was Guardians Volume 2, and we were both working in the same place of work, and I was like sort of trying to organize like a work sort of night out the cinema. Let's all go see Guardians 2 and that sort of stuff. And it was my sort of subtle way of maybe, hey, do you want to come see this movie and that sort of thing. And then before that, she was like, well, I've seen most of them, but I haven't seen Doctor Strange. And I was like, well, you can come around mine before the movie and we can watch Doctor Strange and stuff like that. So that's how it all sort of started. So I'll always remember
getting strange with Doctor Strange.
Exactly. But it's more Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. So we like with a lot of couples, you always ask, when did we start going out? And you're like, I don't know. Like, we don't exactly know the exact date. So we just set our anniversary as the 28th of April, which is when Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 came out that year. So that's why I
love that.
That's a special moment for me. And then I
love that story.
It's a more sad sort of thing, but it's more resonant with me now because my uncle, who is no longer with us, he took me to see the first Spider-Man film in 2002. And that was a game changer for me. I believe that was probably the first superhero film I saw in the cinema because I didn't see X-Men in the cinema. I saw that on VHS. So it was probably the first superhero film I saw in the cinema. And I remember it vividly because on the ride back, I was in the back, it was in the car, and on the windowsill was this very small spiderweb. And I just seen Spider-Man, so it just stuck with me. And now that, you know, I'll try to cherish that moment even more now because my uncle is no longer with me. So that's all I got anyway.
No, I love both those stories, and I also love the fact that you can't pinpoint when exactly you got together, but but this is what movies do. You know, that you can pinpoint moments in your life where, you know, this movie represents something in the time of your life, and it's, you know, not to make it too much about filmmaking, but that's what a lot of directors, including myself, see as, you know, why we make these sort of films, because to us they are like journal entries. They're moments in our life in which we make something which represents who we are in that moment and who we are at that time. And it's the same when we go to the cinema as well. We'll always remember a certain movie for, you know, like we said before, like I remember it was the first cinema ticket that I collected, which was X-Men 2. And then I watched Logan years later and thinking that was the best one of the ones that I saw. And, you know, Dark Knight. And then we all collectively said Endgame, because it was almost like we all collectively as fans put aside our differences and we collectively shouted Avengers Assemble with our heroes.
I figured it out. The reason why this last year everyone's been at war with each other is because there's been no movies.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. And I really hope, man, I hope now with cinemas reopening, I hope we can really create that community feeling of like, we're all in this together, you know, pandemic or not, let's unite. Do you know what I mean? We're all one species. So, and the movies, I feel, and especially going to the movie theaters, is one of those special places where you just feel like you're part of a community, which now more than ever, I feel as if as a society we need, because we're almost, I don't want to get obviously too political, but we're almost now more divided than we ever have been. So I feel as if cinemas is a great way of bringing people back together.
Can I just quickly add to one of the things about that, actually? Because I think, I don't know if you remember this, but I voice noted you, Jake, when I got out of seeing Wonder Woman 84. And I said to you, like, I've come out of the cinema having watched this brightly coloured, you know, look, mess of a film, don't get me wrong, but I enjoyed it for what it was, you know, just a bit of fun entertainment, you know, but I've come out of the cinema and I've come out to a very grey world. And yet when I was in the cinema, here's a film full of colour and, you know, its themes of hope. And I felt so instantly sad after that, because it was like, that's what these movies do for you. You know, they can either make you feel a certain way, in which is either, you know, sad, or in this case, it was a feeling of hope in that one day we're going to have, you know, that brightly coloured world aesthetic at some point. And I think actually I will stand by this statement as well, that even with the themes of that film as well, they're more relevant now more than ever, especially the scene in Washington, if you know what I mean, for anyone who hasn't seen the film. So that's, no spoiler right there. But, you know, to sum up, you know, superhero movies bring colour to an otherwise dark time in our lives. And, you know, we need them now more than ever, both cinema and superheroes on the screen.
Definitely. Tom, anything else you'd like to say before we go into the poll list?
No, just that I'm glad that Rob is taking this view to cinema the same. It's basically the same view that Grant Morrison takes to the actual comic books and the characters in the comic books. And it is, I just want to echo the statement that, yeah, we do need heroes now more than ever, and we need this like sort of sense of community. And we just need more Batman films. That's what we need. Where's our Pats? Where is he?
Patience.
Where is he?
We'll get our Pats very soon. Very, very soon. All right, so that brings us to the end of the main topic. I had a blast, but now let's talk about the comics that inspired the very movies we talk about.
Well, after X-Men hit at the box office, all the studios started buying up every comic property they could get their dirty little hands on.
Yeah, so we got some very good options. There's a lot coming out this week, especially from all the indie developers. Also, weirdly, 2 Vampirella comics coming out this week. For those of you who are shocked that that's still going, there's 2 coming out this week. I don't know why. There was also some comic I saw that was like called like Mindy Hardcock, the woman who electrified Nikola Tesla. And I was just like, what? I might need to pick that up just because I am curious now. I imagine, though, it's probably some form of porn. So going to the actual pull list then, so we'll start over at DC as I usually do. We've got Wonder Girl issue 1 presenting Yara Flor to the world stage. I have been very hyped for this for a while. I'm in love with the character design more than anything, and just the fresh take it's taking with the Wonder Woman mythos. So yeah, definitely want to be picking that up. It's going to be something special. I know I say that a lot, but it definitely is. Sticking with DC, we've got Nightwing issue 80. This week, Tom Taylor is breaking hearts, quite literally, actually. There's someone going around stealing the hearts of the citizens of Bloodhaven, and it's down to Nightwing to find out who is doing it and why. Plus it's Nightwing, it's Tom Taylor on Nightwing, it's Tom Taylor. I don't need to sell this. And swinging over to Marvel, and again moving to a story written by an artist who just, their name sells it enough. Al Ewing brings us The Immortal Hulk Time of Monsters, issue 1. So this is kind of, I don't know why they call it like a spin-off or just an add-on to the Immortal Hulk storyline, but it's basically telling the story of a prehistoric Hulk who opens the Green Door. And I don't want to go too much into what the Green Door is, because if you haven't read Immortal Hulk, you absolutely need to. It is not exaggerating to, and I really mean this, it's not exaggerating to say that it is the finest comic of the 21st century. Hands down. So pick up Immortal Hulk, Time of Monsters issue 1. Also, it's going to feature a new story about the Hulk featuring first-time Marvel writer Dave Vaughn. He's been making some moves sort of in the indie circles. This is his first work with Marvel, so I'm quite excited to see that. And then sticking with Marvel again, aren't you going to be shocked the Fantastic Four are in my list? But it's actually Fantastic Four Life Story issue 1. Some of you may remember Spider-Man Life Story, a great little comic that basically told the entire life story of Spider-Man right up until old age. And like, it was a very interesting concept, I found, and I thought it was only a matter of time before they used it for other characters. And given it's 60 years of the first family of Marvels, it makes sense that the next life story is with the Fantastic Four, basically Marvel's best property, with the exception of the Immortal Hulk. But let's be honest, Fantastic Four, historically speaking, the best Marvel property. And I'm cheating this week, by the way, because usually I have like a list of 5. I've got a list of 6 on this one because I wanted to do my usual 2 Marvel, 2 DC, and then 1 indie. But Shang-Chi issue 1's coming out this week. I felt I had to mention that because if you've been hyped for Shang-Chi, now is the perfect time to just hop on and get to know the character, fall in love with him the same way that we all have.
I'll be picking that up for Dave.
Yeah, yes. Dave needs to get it. Needs to get it, and then he needs to get it. And yes, for our indie pick, going over to Boom Studios, you may remember me bringing this up maybe a month ago, but we got issue 2 of The Many Deaths of Layla Starr. This is the first issue was it was wild. So I've got to recommend the second issue. I mean, just the concept of it itself. Death is in the body of a teenage girl in a world where humans are about to become immortal. But death is now mortal. And it's got a very diverse cast of characters. The artwork is beautiful. I just urge everyone to pick it up. And also, it's Boom Studios. They've been doing a lot of this stuff recently. It's very likely that this may end up getting picked up for a TV show, the same way that they're trying to get Proctor Valley Road picked up for a TV show. That was the whole purpose of them getting Grant Morrison in to write that. So I hope we get an adaptation. I wonder how they will do an adaptation because it is very mystical, it's very out there, very crazy. But so running through the entire list then, we got Wonder Girl issue 1, Nightwing issue 80, The Immortal Hulk Time of Monsters issue 1, Fantastic Four Life Story issue 1, Shang-Chi issue 1, and The Many Deaths of Layla Starr issue 2. So yeah, that's my comic pull. Oh yeah, and all the Vampirella stuff, because, we all need more Vampirella and Red Sonja stuff. There is actually some Red Sonja stuff coming out this week as well. So
that is a fantastic pull list, I have to say. I might even say that might be the best we've had so far on the show because, like, Tom Taylor on Nightwing, fantastic. I've read bits of The Immortal Hulk, and I can't disagree with Tom. It is pretty fantastic. And you've got, the spectacular covers by Alex Ross as well. So that's always a plus
Exactly.
when you get...
I'm a sucker for Alex Ross. I love me some Alex Ross.
What was that? And Shang-Chi. I'm probably going to pick that up. It would be great to, enter a new era with Shang-Chi with the film coming out. So that's really interesting. And yeah, like Fantastic Four life story. I didn't know they were doing that. I absolutely loved the Spider-Man one. I thought it was fantastic. I thought it was really interesting, a new, fresh take to do with these characters. So the fact that they're doing Fantastic Four, I'll probably pick that up. But Rob, any of these pulls stand out to you?
I'm definitely intrigued by the Immortal Hulk because, I mean, you have landed quite a statement there. So I need to follow up and see if that statement is true. Shang-Chi, definitely going to pick up that as well. Nightwing, it's a given, really, isn't it?
Anything Tom Taylor is a given, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good list. Solid list. Yeah.
Great stuff. Get your comics, people. As I said, your comic book stores, your local comic book stores are now open.
We're all free now. We can go save them. Support your local comic book stores before they disappear forever and you've got to order from Amazon.
Man, look. I've just watched Nomadland and all I can say, fuck you, Amazon. Like,
yeah.
But at the same time, I will probably still order from them because they just have us. But yes, no, visit your local comic book store. I visited my local, which is funnily in another city, but there's none around where I am. But it was nice just to go back there, flip through the books, talk to the people and stuff. And as I mentioned with the cinemas, bringing a sense of community back again into society. It's good stuff. It's good stuff. So, yeah, thank everyone for listening to this episode. We always appreciate you coming on board every week and listening to us doofuses talk about cape shit, discuss and geek out. But if you want to continue the conversation with us and see what we're getting up to, Rob, where can the people find you and what you're getting up to?
You guys can find me at Rob Ayling on Instagram or at Rob Ayling Film on Twitter. And I'm just being a filmmaker. That's just me in a nutshell. And I'm going to keep doing that for the rest of my life.
He's poor, people. He's poor.
How dare you, sir?
Tom, what about yourself?
You can find me on Twitter at Gapperboy. Where at the moment there's less hard-hitting comic book facts and more just me abusing the photo mode in Mass Effect Legendary Edition. And I'm just still recovering from the Capwolf campaign, guys. I'm just still really broken up about that.
Never going to let that die, are you?
I'm never going to let it die until they give me Capwolf. I mean, come on, they're doing a What If series. Why can't we have What If Capwolf? Explain to me why we can't have that.
Why don't you send a stern email to Kevin Feige and then see if we can get that?
Because I don't want him to hate me. I want him to like me. He might hire me for one of his films. He might ask me to be Doctor Doom. You don't know.
No shit talking at Marvel Studios here. We all want jobs, so.
Yeah. Incidentally, I'd make a great Doom. Just saying.
Same, you can also find me on Twitter at Sweaty Jake, and I'm also on Letterboxd at Jake Hart. If you're still in the mood for Star Wars and keeping up to date with The Bad Batch, you can check out the other podcast I do with Dave, The Mondaylorians, which premiere every Monday discussing a new episode of The Bad Batch, so check that out. And as for the show as well, we're also on Twitter and on Facebook at Capes, Cowls and Masks. And whether you use Anchor, Spotify, Apple, Google, any place you subscribe to podcasts, subscribe to us, follow us, like us, review us, all of that good stuff. It just all helps us boost up in the rankings. And the best thing you can do is recommend us to all your geeky and nerdy friends and keep expanding this family of Capes, Cowls, and Masks. So thank you for listening, everyone. From myself, from Tom, from Rob, and from the cinemas that await us. See you at next week, everyone. Goodbye.